Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition Player's Handbook Read-Through. We went through all the warriors last time. The videos are up. You can see them. Today, we're looking at spell slingers, specifically wizards. Now, I know you're saying, oh, first level wizard, we're going to have a problem. And for the most part, I have to agree with you. Yes, we're going to have a problem. But there are ways to mitigate this. It's going to be up to your play group. We'll talk about that later, but right now, let's get into what are wizards and what do they do. Let's see.
Do they do wizardy things? Do they go bling bling?
They do wizardy stuff. All right. The wizard group encompasses all spellcasters working in the various fields of magic. Remember, the 2nd edition differentiates clerical spells from magic user spells. They're not considered spellcasting. They're considered more like divine gifts.
Miracle. I think the word miracle is used in 2nd edition, right?
I think you're right. Both those who specialize in specific schools of magic and those who study a broad range of magical theories. Spending their lives in pursuit of arcane wisdom, wizards have little time for physical endeavors. They tend to be poor fighters with little knowledge of weaponry. They're studying all day. That's how it works, man. Sorry. However, they command powerful and dangerous energies with a few simple gestures, rare components, and mystical words. This last sentence is very important. I've seen so many dungeon masters hand wave components, gestures, incantations.
Oh, wait till we get to the spell casting rules about how far are you allowed to move when you're casting a spell.
Yeah, that's important. Remember that. Spells are the tools, weapons, and armor of the wizard. He is weak in a toe-to-toe fight, but when prepared, he can strike down his foes at a distance, vanish in an instant, become a wholly different creature, or even invade, blah, blah, blah. He's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay, yeah, they gas him up a little bit in this paragraph, but here's the thing. I want you to think of wizards, low-level wizards, mid-level wizards, and high-level wizards like this. Everyone knows Batman. Everyone knows Robin. Max here would probably not know Nightwing.
Isn't that Robin?
Yes. Okay, he does. This is great.
No, you guys covered comics enough. I think I picked one.
Did. You were listening. That's amazing. Thank you. Now, a low-level wizard is Robin. He's got a few tricks, but you leave him on his own, he's getting his butt kicked. He's getting whooped. He's just a little boy in shorts. All right? Sorry. But after a while, he gets some experience. He can go off on his own. He becomes Nightwing. He can do some stuff on his own. He can beat up some low-level guys, maybe take out one mid-level threat on his own because he's got that much experience and that many tools in his tool belt, these tools being spells. But he still has to call Batman every once in a while. All right? But a high-level wizard is Batman. He has the ability to prepare for anything that's going to happen during the day. Always have a trick up his sleeve. That's how you have to play wizards. Wizards have to memorize their spells in the beginning of the day. That means a wizard has to ask some questions. Where are we going? What are we doing? What's going to be there? What do you need from me? All these things before he memorizes his spells, because you're going to be a lot more impressive if you have the answers to the problems that are going to happen or are likely to happen. Doing overland travel, an alarm spell would be great. You know, trying to find a missing child or item or whatever, a divining spell would be awesome. Have to convince somebody to do something you want, a single charm spell could get the job done. Suddenly, you're the most important tool in everyone's tool belt. But you have to prepare. So prepare like Batman. Wizards are Batman. Batman with no preparation would get his butt kicked by Aquaman of the Super Friends version, not the comic book version. But a properly prepared Batman could take the entire Justice League down. Think of it like that.
Another thing to consider in what Heathen Dog was saying there is at low levels, the fighter has to know where you are, or he's going to tell you where you're going to be so that he can best protect you.
Yes.
At high levels, the warrior says, where do you need me so I'm out of range of whatever nonsense you're doing?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Again, it goes back to the Batman and Robin thing.
Yep.
Low-level wizards are Robin. Batman keeps his eye on Robin all the time. Batman tells Robin what to do and where to go because Robin will fall into a hole, break his leg, and get himself killed, right? Because he's Robin. He's just a little kid in shorts. But as he gets better, then the roles kind of switch. All right, but here we go. Wizards cannot wear any armor for several reasons. Firstly, most spells require complicated gestures and odd posturings by the caster, and armor restricts the wearer's ability to do this properly. Second, the wizard spent his youth, and will spend most of his life, learning arcane languages, poring through old books, and practicing his spells. This leaves no time for learning other things, like how to wear armor properly or use it effectively. If the wizard has spent his time learning about the armor, he would not have even the meager skills and powers to begin with. Now, there's a little caveat here for the demi-humans. Demi-humans, number one, you live a lot longer, and number two, you can multi-class. You have more time to learn more things, but you advance slower. That's your drawback. So, you know, if you're a fighter mage elf, then you've spent twice as long learning half as much.
You're still not casting spells in armor, though. A couple of caveats to that. Somebody's going to pull some crap out of the Elf's Handbook or whatever.
But the Wizard's Handbook out and say, "Oh no, there's a kit for that." You know, yes, there is. There definitely is. Battle mages are a thing in the Wizard's Handbook, but we're not talking about the Wizard's Handbook. We're talking about the Player's Handbook.
Right.
All right. There are even unfounded theories that claim the materials in most armors disrupt the delicate fabric of spells as it gathers energy. That is just a supposition. That's not in this book. The two cannot exist side by side. While this idea is popular, true wizards know it's simply not true. For similar reasons, wizards are severely restricted in the weapons they can use. They are limited to those that are easy to learn or sometimes useful in their own research. Hence, a wizard can use a dagger or a staff, items that are traditionally useful in magical studies. Other weapons allowed are darts, knives, and slings, weapons that require little skill, strength, or both. Wizards can use more magical items than any other characters. These includes potions, rings, wands, scrolls, most miscellaneous magical items. A wizard can use magical version of any weapon he's allowed, but cannot use magical armor because no armor is allowed. So remember, if you run across bracers or rings of protection, you might want to throw the wizard a bone. All right.
See, I don't know about the whole sling thing. I've used a sling in my life once when I was a kid, and let's just say you've seen Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah,
wasn't that bad?
Ewok hit himself in the face with his own sling. I get that. Now, the reason I actually thought about this, and the reason I think that they put slings in there is because when you're a child, especially in a low technology culture, you would do slings for fun as a kid, become proficient before you started your magical training. I think that might be why.
That could be. Not well. They also needed a ranged weapon of some sort. It's just like darts. Darts, and they for whatever reason, most people, for some odd reason, think we're talking darts that you throw at a target. Darts are just basically stunted javelins.
Yeah.
Like if you actually look it up, they're like a foot long or something. And why does a wizard get that? And I'm not going to go into the story about the whole multi-classing fighter using darts. Don't allow it. It's because they need something ranged and something that's still simple to use. It is still a game. You need to remember that. And you know what? Your wizard's probably not, up front trying to poke the bugbear. He's probably in the back trying to throw those darts at the bugbear going, oh, got it, oh, got it, oh, got it.
The wizard understands that the further you are away from danger, the further you are also away from harm.
Yes.
Pippin can suck it. He's wrong. Of course, he was also lying. But anyway. Wizard experience. Wizards have one of the most severe experience tables. For example, a fighter takes 2,000 experience points to get to second level, and a thief takes what, 1,250? Something like that.
1,250. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. 1,250. Yes.
1,250. Whereas the wizard 2,500. Whether you're a regular generalist mage or a specialist, it's the same thing.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you quickly sneak ahead to the priest, level 10-ish, so 250,000 here. Okay. If you can sneak ahead to the...
Okay, sneak ahead to the priest.
Because I forget where it is, but there's a big jump in the priest, and I always forget if the priest actually becomes slower than the wizard. Okay, there we go. Level 10, 400.
450,000. But 9 to 10 is the big jump.
Yeah. There's a huge jump in there. See, it starts off quicker.
Yeah. Then it
we'll see,
gets
because you need all that healing.
Yeah. I would imagine so. All right, let's see if I can find my way back to where I was.
I only point that out now because so many people say, "Well, the wizard's got the slowest spell or the slowest level progression in the game." Nope.
That's why I said one of the most severe.
Oh, no, you did, but I mean, but the argument out there is that it's the slowest.
Finally, all wizards, whether mages or specialists, can create new magical items ranging from simple scrolls and potions to powerful staves and magical swords. This is often overlooked. I only get 5 spells per day. Dude, you can make scrolls. Read some scrolls, pop off an extra spell. You can do that. Sure, it's going to cost money, the proper materials, and it's going to cost time, the proper time. But man, take the time out of your day. Especially if the dungeon master allows time skips, because the thief wants to research creating a school or a protection racket or whatever, or the cleric wants to create a monastery or something. You've got weeks or months to make scrolls, magic potions, small magic items. You got time to do that. Dude, take the time. Do it. It will only benefit you later.
So one of the things to also consider in the Dungeon Master Guide, when it talks about giving out experience points, wizards get experience points for making these items as well.
For making these items, yes. And it's when you reach 9th level. It's when everyone else wants to make the keep, the thieving guild, the fortress, the whatever. Everyone wants to take time to do that anyway. Let them. You take that time to do this. They'll come back with a keep. You'll come back with a level. That's entirely possible.
But I can have a tower. Why have a tower and deal with all that nonsense when you can live in somebody's keep and do this?
Yeah, you can live in that dude's keep. Get a little laboratory of your own in that keep. Churn out spells, churn out magic items. This is good stuff, man. Come on. Play smarter, not harder. He can construct more powerful magical items only after he has learned the appropriate spells or works with someone who knows them. Your DM should consult the spell research and magical item section in the DMG for more information. We obviously won't go over that because that's in the DMG, but it lists what spells you need to recreate what magic items. And if your wizard is, very creative, say, hey, I want to create a new magic item using this spell, and this spell that does this. And then you and your DM can talk about if that's feasible or not or whatever. That's up to you. No matter what school of magic the wizard is involved in, intelligence is his prime requisite. One of several if he's a specialist. Characters must have an intelligence score of at least 9 to even qualify as a wizard. That's easy. That's below average for the role. But it can be done.
Yeah, this is where my contention with 2nd edition actually comes in. Wizard is one of the few classes that I say that the attribute or ability score of a 9 is a lie.
Yeah, because you have a spell failure rate.
Well, and a maximum spell. I mean, with intelligence at 9, you can max out at 4th level spells, I think.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous. Now, look, there are items out there that can jump up your intelligence, but if you're going from a 9 to an 18 or even higher over the course of your career, that's just cheating. If it goes up 1 or 2 points, I get that. Okay, you got an 11, you're still average. I personally have never done this, but after reading earlier editions of Dungeons and Dragons, I would actually remove the spell chance. I'd keep the limitations for the number of spells you can have, but I would remove the spell cap.
Yeah. All wizards gain 1 4-sided die, D4, of hit points per level from 1st through 10th levels. After 10th level, wizards earn 1 point per level and no longer gain any additional point bonuses for high constitution scores. This is the worst in this book. And that means that if your wizard is in the front line, that means one of 3 things. 1, everyone else is dead and the front line came to you. 2, you as the wizard have a plan It better be good. Or 3, you're stupid. One of these things are true. Please don't let it be 3. Learning and casting spells require long study, patience, and research. Once his adventuring life begins, a wizard is largely responsible for his own education. He no longer has a teacher looking over his shoulder telling him what spell to learn next. This freedom is not without its price, however. It means that the wizard must find his own source of magical knowledge, libraries, guilds, or captured books and scrolls. Luckily, in much of the treasure types that monsters drop out of almost magical thin air, a lot of it is going to be scrolls, and you can copy scrolls from a scroll to your book and have the spell. Now there's a chance to learn the spell, the chance to copy the spell. This is all rolls, but this is doable. And of course, scrolls can be bought. Just pay someone, get a scroll, and that way you can choose the one you want, copy it in your book, memorize it. Bob's your uncle. You got a new spell. And of course, when you defeat an evil wizard, well, he's not using his books anymore. You can use them. Whenever a wizard discovers instructions for a spell he doesn't know, he can try to read, understand. I'm not going to go through all of this, but there are chances to you have to roll to copy the spell to your book. You have to roll to understand the spell, so you can then memorize the spell. These are all things that have to be done for you to say, I know this spell now. Okay, a spell book contains complicated instructions for casting the spell's recipe, so to speak. Merely reading these instructions aloud or trying to mimic the instructions does not enable one to cast a spell. Spells gather and shape mystical energies. The procedures involved are very demanding, bizarre, and intricate. Before a wizard can actually cast a spell, he must memorize its arcane formula. This locks an energy pattern for that particular spell into his mind. Once he has the spell memorized, it remains in his memory until he uses the exact combination of gestures, words, or materials that triggers the release of this energy pattern. Upon casting, the energy is spent, wiped clean from the wizard's mind. This is okay. A lot of people don't understand how wizards can memorize a spell, cast it, and then forget it. It's not. You didn't forget it. This is more putting a bullet in the chamber. The magical energy you're storing in your mind and or your body is what you're doing for that 1, 2, 5, 9 hours in the morning memorizing these spells. You're not actually memorizing the spell. You're memorizing the energy pattern to fill it with energy and then hold it in the chamber that is you, the gun. After you shoot that energy bolt, whether it be a fireball, a wish spell, a charm spell, whatever, that energy is spent. You must reacquire that energy the next morning if you want to be able to cast that spell again. But cool thing is, if you don't use it, it doesn't go away. You don't have to memorize it every day to have it every day unless you use it. If you don't use it, you got it for tomorrow. Great. The downside is you don't have the ability to change it up unless you expend it. Now, I understand in later editions, you can just like drop stuff and do it. But the way I do it is you store the energy in your mind and or body. You must expend it before you can refill it. You're like a container of energy. The more level you get, the more concentrated you can get, the more things you can stuff in your body. But you have to expend some to create more room. Think of it more like bullets in a gun than just memorizing text and gestures and whatnot.
It's a heavily modified system of the Jack Vance novels. They call it Vancian magic for Dungeons and Dragons. That's what the premise was based on.
Okay. Initially, the wizard is able to retain only a few of these magical energies in his mind, but as you get more experienced, going up in levels, you can concentrate this energy. So I don't consider it your vessel to hold energy getting bigger. Your ability to compact the energy gets better so you can fit more energy in the same size vessel. Think of it like that. Another important power of the wizard is his ability to research new spells and construct magical items. Both endeavors are difficult, time-consuming, costly, occasionally even perilous. Through research, a wizard can create an entirely new spell subject to the DM's approval. Likewise, by consulting with your DM, your character can build magical items either similar to those already given in the rules or of your own design. Come on, where is that it? Yeah, okay, good.
So that was all the
DMs,
generic stuff that affects every wizard.
Yes, DM has information concerning spell research in the DM's guide. Now, this is important. If a fireball spell is not for sale, if you haven't found a fireball spell by the time you're able to cast a fireball spell, it is possible for you to just make one up. Exactly like it is in the book. Hey, I just want to create a fireball spell. I've seen it done before. I want to recreate that. It's going to take weeks, months of research. It's going to take research materials. It's going to take time, but you should be able to do it. And there are rules for success and failure in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So, it's okay. You can do it.
You want to hit some chat before we go into Mage?
Let's hit some chat before I get into the generalist Mage.
Okay. Already did the super chat. Thanks again, CPK, for your super chat. Just a reminder for folks out there, if we get $100, we'll have the giveaway. And if you do 50 or more in one shot, I will have to drink. Julie Silverstone is somebody that I've been seeing in the comment section. I've not responded to everything yet. Got kind of busy, but thank you for coming by. Just liking the 2E series we're doing so far.
Hey, that's a catfish. That's not Julia Silverstone's picture.
Well, sure, I'm just going with the name that's on there. So, yes, that's, was that Denise Richards?
Yeah.
So how do you? Really glad I discovered your channel, and I'm just watching your videos on YouTube these days. Yep, I've been reading your comments. Like I said, I haven't responded to everything, although your collection did make me jealous. Just put a picture of her collection out there. It's like, oh. Like, that's all I have. I mean, I only have 2 rows of two ebooks. Actually, a row and a half of 2 ebooks. That was an entire floor. It's like, anyway. So thank you very much. Glad you're enjoying these things. It's been really good to see the newer people come by here. We've been getting a lot of interesting comments, both good and bad. So that's how we know that the people are new. But I'm glad you're here. Glad you're enjoying it. And of course, as always, if we say something you don't like, we don't care. I mean, go ahead and talk about it in the comments. Anything you want to add to that, Heathen Dog?
No, it's good.
Okay. Dartheic says at lower levels it pays to spend downtime making scrolls and potions. But there's the thank you. Go for it.
9th level.
Yep.
We just read over that. The minimum is 9th level, but it's placed there for a reason. It's the level everyone else wants to take a time out. So you now have time to do all this.
Now let me do the exception that makes the rule. But there are kits that yes, we know.
Stop.
All right. That's how you get extra spells to cast and make some things a little easier. I actually wish, again, strict reading of the rules, that's it, that they could make scrolls at an earlier level. Because you're absolutely right, Dartheic, on that one. Absolutely right that I only have 1 spell. Sure, for the first couple of adventures, but then you go through a module or you go through an adventure, and now you got like 3 scrolls on you that you can use, which you could pop out at any time. You can be out of spells and still use them. Yep. Scrolls are an underrated gift because most wizards, in my experience, like, no, I got to have the scroll so I can make a spell out of this later. Scrolls are meant to be used. I get it. That is an option. And it's not a bad option, but no. I've seen people hoard scrolls like, I gave you the scroll that was...
Yeah, and then CPK here, did I miss the part that mages forget spells they don't use in 24 hours? No, you missed the part where they never forget spells they don't use.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think they do, unless that's something I just misread somewhere. I don't think they...
It's right there.
Okay.
Once he has the spell memorized, it remains in his memory until he uses the exact combination of gestures, words, and materials that triggers the release of this energy pattern. That's it.
Yeah,
forever.
Otherwise, oh my God, because in 2nd edition, unlike the other, I don't know what 1st edition is, but it's 10 minutes per spell level.
Yes. I mean, if you had to, if you were an 18th level wizard and you had to memorize like 20 levels of spells, that's 200 minutes you are spending every morning where everyone else is like, dude, I gotta go. I want to go.
And there are pretty particular rules about the conditions you have to be in order to be relaxed enough to learn. So yeah, one more chat here. Really on the Rock says, what about a headband of intellect? The wizard could have another wizard assist him in crafting that item, and boom, intelligence problem solved.
Well, yeah, but the dungeon master has to agree that a singular magical item can raise your intelligence by 9 points. Any dungeon master who agrees to that should be flogged.
Or what is it, something that a lot of dungeon masters really like to do? The dungeon master giveth,
and the dungeon master taketh away. Yes, in the old days, it was called Indian Giver.
Yeah. The idea though is, and I'm not saying that every dungeon master should do that, but that's, to me, that's too big of a risk. You give me a Librum of Intelligence, I forget what it's called, Librum of Intellect, whatever it's called.
It's like a +1, right?
Or yeah, it's a +1. That's cool. I get that, because you can only use one Librum ever. Or one for that attribute.
For that stat for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Right. So that's not such a big deal. It goes up by 1. But going up by 9 or something like a ring or whatever, that can be removed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would go 2 for something that can be removed. But remember,
Sure.
Once you read that Librum of Boundless Intellect or whatever the hell it's called, you get it stat forever. It can't be removed. So it's only a +1. Something that can be removed, I would go 2, possibly 3 if you got me when I was drunk. But anything after that, I would never allow as an item. That's crazy. Anyway.
One more, then we'll get you to the mage.
All right.
Because Julie Silverstone is now a member. So this means you get access to about 5,000 videos, some of which, no, we're not embarrassed of, but you know what? There's a reason they're members only. Now, we got comic book reviews, we got anime reviews, we've got all types of stuff. We got bad audio, we've got rants, we've got all types of stuff that you now have access to. Enjoy. I'm sure there's something in there that will make you feel ways about things at some point, but that's the point. But I really appreciate that. And you will now be added to any giveaway that we have as long as you're a member. So congratulations.
All right.
Hidden Dog, move on.
Mage. This is your base mage, not a specialist. He's a generalist. All magic is at his disposal. This is an advantage and a disadvantage. On the positive side, the mage's selection of spells and able to deal with many different situations. He is not restricted in any spell choice or spell possibility. But as the downside, he can memorize less spells per day than a specialist mage. A specialist mage, which we're going to get into later, can memorize an extra spell per day of his specialty. But the downside is that there are some schools, some whole swaths of spell lists that he just can't do. But we're going to get into that in the next one. Mages have no historical counterparts. They exist only in legend and myth. However, players can model their characters after these legends and myths, such as Merlin, Circe, Medea. Accounts of powerful wizards and sorceresses are rare since their reputations are based in no small part on the mystery that surrounds them. These legendary figures work towards secret ends, seldom confiding in normal folk around them. A mage who has an intelligence of 16 or higher gains a 10% bonus to the experience points he earns. Schools of magic. Spells are divided into 9 categories or schools according to the type of magical energy they utilize. Each school has its own special methods and practices. Although they are called schools, schools of magic are not organized places where a person goes to study. The word school identifies a magical discipline. A school is an approach to magic and spellcasting that emphasizes a particular sort of spell. Practitioners of a school of magic may set up a magical university to teach their methods to beginners, but this is not necessary. So a school of magic is very much like the idea that casting an illusion spell is radically different than casting a necromantic spell. Casting an alteration spell is radically different than casting an abjuration spell. There's a different, not only vastly different gestures and movements involved, maybe even it's a different kind of magical language. Maybe it is a different kind of thought process you have to go through.
Necromancy is smelly magic.
Yeah, this is all up to the dungeon master to explain for his world.
Right. One of the things to also note, and
how they're different.
And Heathen Dog, I'm sure we'll get into this in the next video, is that when you take a specialist, you have not only an opposing school, but you usually have one, sometimes two, but usually one other school that you're opposed to also. So you don't just lose out on the opposite
school that you also don't get to do anything with.
As necromancy, it's was it illusion and I forget now.
Evocation, invocation.
Yeah.
No. Is it? Yeah, I think it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's
Alteration? No,
I think it's
enchantment charm.
enchantment charm.
Enchantment charm. You're right. Okay. Many powerful wizards learn their craft studying under reclusive masters in distant lands. The 9 schools of magic are these. The diagram illustrates the schools that oppose each other. See table 22 for its entry descriptions. Of these schools, 8 are greater schools, while the 9th, lesser divination, is a minor school. A minor school of lesser divination includes all divination spells of 4th level or less. Greater divinations are those divination spells that are 5th level or higher. So, lesser divination spells can be used by anyone. They're not technically a school that is encompassed in this. So, even if you are a conjurer who normally can't use divination, that's greater divination. Levels 1 through 4
And
are
what the
still
diviner's
okay.
saying? What?
Sorry, levels 1 through
ripped
4 are
off,
okay.
man.
All right, so that is the wizard in general, and the generalist mage in particular, which, as I say it, is a weird choice of words to use all in one sentence, but that's what we got. Next, we're going to go over the specialist mage. Now, the specialist mage is different because they get, number 1, more spells. No, number 2, less access to a spell list, but also number 3, a much higher bar of entry attribute-wise, depending on the school that you choose. So it's not like, oh, anyone with a 9 intelligence can just jump in and be an invoker. No.
Right.
You're going to have some, not paladin level stats, but you're going to need to have some higher stats in this one.
I found that the secondary stat for the necromancer is always funny because it felt opposite to me. Like, not sure. I'm not going to spill it here. You'll have to see that in the next episode. But I didn't realize we were that close to the end. Otherwise, I would have waited on the comments. So we have no new comments to add to that I'm putting in there. But again, thank you for the super chats and the new memberships.
Like, I didn't know about the lesser divination spells. That's because the diviner in 2nd edition is the most crapped on specialist or school there ever is. The reason why they did this is because divination spells level 1 through 4 are basically dog crap. No one wants them. No one uses them. It's not until 5th level that they get to be generally useful. I never played a diviner until 5th edition, because 5th edition is so much like plug and play Lego character, create what you want, that I could actually make a diviner useful.
Well, the abjure has a piece in that conversation as well.
Yeah, the abjure also has what I call a crappy spell list as well.
So if you combine the diviner, the abjurer, make the divine the
divine abjurer.
the abviner, maybe you got something good out of there. All right.
Maybe,
anyway.
but, maybe not.
Okay, well, let's get ready for our next video. So thank you. Please like, subscribe, and share if you like the conversation that we're having here. Again, if you disagree with something, if you think that there should be a house rule, we don't care. We're reading the book. No, go ahead and post it in the comments there. If you think that you don't like that we're telling you how to play the game, well, too bad. That's what we're going to continue to do, because that's what we do here. So I'm trying to think of what other comments we've been getting recently that I can spurg out about here. But no, tell us what your thoughts are about the wizard and the mage. Do you play one, or are you like, nah, I'm not dealing with a D4 hit points? Let us know in the comments, and I look forward to talking to everybody in the next video.